The flight attendant took off her shoe and used it to stir the coffee. Then she calmly brought the cup to the passenger. Unexpectedly, the passenger seemed to notice that something was wrong. Without hesitation, she knocked the coffee away. The boiling liquid spilled onto the flight attendant's arm, instantly turning it bright red from the burn. But the flight attendant did not dare show any anger, because this passenger was a respected princess. However, the flight attendant still could not let go of what happened. So when it was time for the meal service, she deliberately prepared a bowl of seafood noodles for the princess. She knew clearly that the princess had a seafood allergy. To make sure the princess would eat it, she even removed all the visible seafood from the dish. She only wanted to teach the princess a lesson for her arrogant attitude, but she never expected her action would lead to a deadly consequence. The princess suffered a severe allergic reaction and died at the airport. Before her death, the princess left behind a will. It stated that her body had to be escorted back to her home country, and the only person allowed to accompany her was flight attendant Pim. Because of the royal order, Pim had no choice but to obey. She was forced to board the same familiar plane once again. But this time, besides herself and the captain, the only other thing on board was the princess's body wrapped in white cloth. As soon as the plane entered the stratosphere, it encountered severe turbulence. The aircraft began shaking violently. Pim desperately held onto the armrest. Then she suddenly noticed something horrifying. The princess's body had fallen from its seat and was sliding toward her at terrifying speed. The sight was so frightening that Pim quickly moved away. When the plane finally stabilized, Pim gathered her courage and slowly approached the body. But just as she reached out to touch the cold white cloth, the princess's body suddenly moved. Pim was completely terrified and suspected the princess might still be alive. She immediately called the captain. However, the captain thought Pim was only imagining things. After reassuring her, he told her to handle it herself. With no one else to rely on, Pim forced herself to stay calm and carried the heavy body back to its seat. She tied several tight knots around the rope before returning to her seat. Still shaken, Pim tried to sleep. But the moment she closed her eyes, a strange sound suddenly reached her ears. When she opened her eyes, she was horrified to discover the princess's body was in her arms. Fortunately, it was only a nightmare. Before she could recover, she noticed a shadow moving behind her. Pim cautiously followed the figure toward the princess's seat. Then she discovered the body she had tightly tied down had completely disappeared. She immediately contacted the captain, but a weak coughing sound suddenly came from nearby. Following the sound, Pim found the white shroud abandoned outside the restroom door. Her heart sank. Trembling, she pushed open the restroom door, but there was nothing inside. Just as she thought it was another false alarm, the plane suddenly shook again. The restroom door locked from the inside, and the lights went out. The cabin fell into complete silence and darkness. Pim desperately tried to open the door, but it would not move. Then she suddenly felt a cold breath brushing against her neck. When she slowly turned around, she